Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're cutting right through the fluff and diving straight into the grounded psychology behind building unforgettable human connections. We're going to explore a really fascinating breakdown of how specific communication tools can completely transform the way you interact, essentially letting you bypass all that surface-level noise and strike right at the core of emotional resonance.
So we have to kick things off with a pretty fundamental question. Why do so many guys just completely miss the mark when trying to make a lasting impression? It's actually not a lack of effort. Most guys are trying really hard. Rather, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how the human brain actually processes attraction. We put in the work, but we're basically aiming at the wrong target entirely.
All right, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start by unpacking the myth of logical attraction. Then we'll dive into our three core tools: I want, because, and I appreciate. And we'll wrap it all up with the mastery, timing, and delivery needed to actually pull this off. Okay, starting with section 1, the myth of logical attraction, and how to move past that whole checklist mentality. Look, we're practically conditioned from day one to treat attraction like it's this highly logical checklist, right? We tell ourselves that if we're funny enough or successful enough, it should just automatically equal desire. But here's the reality. Attraction is almost entirely subconscious. When you overthink your response, when you try to craft that perfectly analytical text message, you are speaking directly to logic. But attraction? It lives squarely in the limbic system. That's the emotional and memory center of the brain. Logic simply does not spark desire.
Just look at these numbers breaking down our daily interactions. Think about the sheer volume of perfectly safe, polite chatter a woman experiences in a single day. 75% is just generic noise. It's the "hey, what's up" in her DMs, basically the social equivalent of elevator music. Then another 20% are those polite pleasantries, the "how are you" at the coffee shop. Only a tiny 5% actually hits that emotional core. And the human brain is literally an efficiency machine. It is designed to completely filter out and forget that overwhelming 95% because it just lacks any real emotional weight.
So how do you step out of that totally forgettable script and become a constant presence in her thoughts? Well, you have to paint a psychological landmark. It's what we call emotional anchoring. It's all about stripping away this need to perform and instead creating a specific, high-contrast memory that is rooted in real intent. When you do that, her unconscious mind is naturally going to replay that memory when she's alone, simply because you made her feel something real amidst all that everyday polite noise. And that brings us to section 2. Tool 1, I want, leading with grounded intent.
This first tool directly tackles that hidden fear of rejection that makes so many guys rely on wishy-washy, hesitant language. On the left, you've got those defensive phrases, right? Maybe we could hang out, or if you're free. Guys think they're just being polite, but honestly, you're actually offloading all the emotional heavy lifting onto her. You're asking her to lead because you're afraid to state your actual intentions. But on the right, we have radical honesty. I want to take you to dinner. It just radiates calm confidence. You aren't testing the waters, you're standing firmly in your own truth and taking ownership of it.
By simply stating your desire like that, you create a really healthy polarity. This is that steady, masculine energy of leading with respect. It immediately allows her to drop that heavy burden of decision-making and just respond naturally to your lead. Showing that you are a person of intent, that provides a massive sense of relief and security.
Moving right along to section 3. Tool 2, because, adding evidence-based depth.
This tool right here is your absolute ultimate antidote to those generic, copy-paste compliments that just plague modern dating. On the surface, a compliment like, "I enjoy talking to you," or "you're beautiful," is fine, but it's background noise. You could literally say that to anyone. But providing a reason for your attraction, saying something like, "I enjoy talking to you because you have a thoughtful way of seeing things," that completely changes the game. It turns a standard comment into an evidence-based observation. It proves you aren't just looking at her, you are actually seeing her. The sentiment suddenly feels earned. So why does that one word work so well? Because it sinks the conversation straight into her heart. This kind of specific recognition satisfies a super fundamental human need, the desire to be truly understood. When you validate her unique perspective, or her resilience, or her character, you're showing that your interest is a real appreciation of her essence, not just a surface-level physical reaction. Which leads us directly into section 4. Tool 3, I appreciate, witnessing her character. For this tool, we really need to understand the massive difference between a simple transactional compliment and true, deep appreciation. So many people get totally stuck in the compliment trap. They focus on the outfit, the hair, the smile. Saying you look nice is transactional. You're giving a compliment just to get a smile back, and it fades instantly. Appreciation, on the other hand, acknowledges her inner qualities. Saying, "I appreciate how thoughtful you are with people," signals that you are a witness to her soul, not just a consumer of her looks. It makes her feel seen in a way most people wouldn't even attempt.
Now, check out what happens when we stack all these tools together into one single powerful sentence. Step 1, intent. I want to see you again. Step 2, evidence. Because. Step 3, validation. I really appreciate the calm energy you bring. Boom. You are showing clear intent, logical evidence, and validating who she is at her core. This instantly plants a seed of emotional safety and value right in her unconscious mind. You've just become the person who noticed the specific, quiet parts of her personality that literally everyone else just glosses over.
Finally, we hit Section 5, mastery, timing, and delivery. This is how you execute these tools naturally.
Look, knowing these words is honestly only half the battle. Because they are so high impact, true mastery requires the social awareness to use them naturally. The goal isn't to use these phrases on someone, but to speak them when they are genuinely true. Timing is absolutely everything. It is literally the difference between a cheap pickup line and a true soul-level connection. You've got to wait for the emotional peak of an interaction, maybe right after a really meaningful conversation or after sharing a great laugh, to anchor that feeling. If you drop this too early without context, the whole effect is completely ruined.
And your delivery? It absolutely has to have nonverbal congruence. Your body language, that warm, direct eye contact, and a calm, steady tone of voice, they must match the words coming out of your mouth. Take your time. Don't rush to finish the sentence. If you're over-explaining or staring at the floor, or if your voice is all shaky and nervous, the impact is totally lost.
Ultimately, you've got to remember that attraction is a mutual dance. If she doesn't match your honest energy or respond with interest, hey, that's okay. Your job is simply to lead with presence and respect her decision. A person of high value doesn't chase or push for a reaction. You just state your truth and let the chips fall where they may.
So, here's the big takeaway. It is time to stop being polite background noise. Take these tools, I want, because, and I appreciate. I want you to think about a moment when someone's words truly stayed with you. What did that real emotional impact actually feel like? Stop playing it safe, state your truth, and ask yourself, are you ready to be unforgettable?